Okay, we are live. Hi there, John Gums here, Dakota Grappler. Coming to you live Wednesday night. Again, this is our 5th episode of Dakota Grappler Live Coaches Show. Here with a coach I've really started to admire for actually several years now. This is Jerald Lemar. He's the head wrestling coach. Here with a coach I've really started to admire for actually several years now. Hold on, Jerald Lemar. He's the head wrestling coach. Here with a coach I've really started to admire. There it is. Okay, I usually have that on the background so I can see that the video's going. So that's my goof up. Okay, here we go. Let's minimize and get me back to where I was going. Okay, let's start this intro again, those that are watching. Okay, John Gums, Dakota Grappler, here with Jerald Lemar, head wrestling coach from Century. I would say, he's got some college background. He's an Class B, North Dakota wrestler from rugby. Used to be Class A when I was wrestling. I wrestled a few people from there. In fact, I wrestled one of the number one wrestlers in the state. You probably could guess. He wrestled for Bismarck High, his dad once. And he was a little bit older than me. But there are several people that are out there watching. I know sometimes you get some people live right away. We'll get hundreds of people following this show later. But again, this is our 5th episode, getting bigger and better all the time. And what I wanted to do is promote just the sport of wrestling, make sure coaches have something to say, because there are some very wise people out there, and they all have great coaching philosophies and great coaching abilities, and like to hear what they say. And I honestly believe there are a lot of people out there that want to hear this message and get an opportunity to, make wrestling number one on their list, as you could say. Yeah. But again, I want you first. Now it's getting into the Christmas season. We are 12 days from Christmas. And so one of my Christmas things here is just to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and holiday season's coming up. But for you, Jerald, you're involved in a lot of things. I want you first to start off with how you got into the Century program, and basically from there, what led you to that, kind of the beginning of your wrestling. I'll let you speak for just a little bit.
Well, I ended up meeting a girl from Bismarck. That's what brought me here. I'll never regret that decision, obviously. Love Amanda to death. Coming here, it was, okay, wrestling, this is like the wrestling mecca. So any wrestler, any former wrestler, a guy that wants to be still a part of the sport of wrestling, this is the area of the state of North Dakota that you want to be in. When I got here, it was, okay, where do you want to go? Who do you want to help? What programs do you want to be a part of? And the biggest one for me is when I was going through the high school ranks and everything else, the program to be a part of was Century High School. They were, back when you were wrestling in the late 1980s, with the Steiners, and then you get into the early 90s where you've got the Sabbats and the Gillis, and you got Mike Seeger, and you've got Monty Trusty, and we can just keep going and going and going and going. So my biggest thing was that was a tradition that was started back in the 80s, and it continued all the way through the 90s, and that's what I grew up on. I idolized the Century guys. I idolized those guys that stepped out on the mat in the red and the baby blue and the white, and they made baby blue look tough. It was scary,
wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was kind of the choice I made when I came here. It was the mentality I kind of had, was that was the team I grew up idolizing, and to be a part of the program to me was going to be kind of a treat, or even a dream come true, if you will. So to be a part of the program and to have been able to help it and get it back up to where I feel it belongs, it's been kind of a joy, and it's been awesome. It's just a great ride so far. So
okay, well, awesome. Now tell me about now you've been coaching how many years at Century? You've been head coach. Tell me that first.
7, I believe. Is this I think this is my 7th year now at Century as the head coach. I've been there since 2004. I started there as an assistant under Randy Hilzendager, and then I took over in this would be my 7th, because I took over in 2011.
Yep.
So
time flies. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah, way too fast.
Yeah, because I look at the accolades. Now, you guys have had great teams along the way, but you guys were, oh man, as close as I could be. I ranked you guys number 1 last year. Had a huge senior class.
We did.
And I know you had some ups and downs, different things, and we don't want to get into last year. I want to get into the positives of this year. But tell me what it's like to replace a large senior class. Now, you guys graduated a ton last year, total numbers and a lot of talent. So now you have new guys on the mat this year. Tell me what that's like so far.
Yeah, we graduated 8 seniors last year, multiple state champions with Rader and Schultz, state finalists in Trey Pajamula, multiple state finalists in Seth Braun. And you start looking at those guys, and now you got to replace them. I mean, it's difficult, but we're lucky in some of those areas. Like I look at heavyweight. We've been a 3-headed monster at heavyweight now last year and probably even the year before. Behind Seth, we had Riley Raisler, who is no slouch on the mat. I mean, he just wrestled Elijah Huff this last Thursday, who's #1 in the state. We ended up losing 3-2. So Riley's right there. We just got to get him over the hump or over the edge, if you will. And then right behind Riley, we got Connor Stordalen, sophomore heavyweight, who is as dynamite as what Riley was and what Seth was when they were his age. So we're excited about the heavyweight position. We have some holes to fill at like 182, 195, 220. We got some younger kids there though, so I think that'll help us as we approach further on. Right now they're going to take their lumps, but that's what we do. When we're younger, we take some lumps, so that way when we get older, we're the ones giving the lumps. So that's how we're kind of training right now.
Well, it's awesome. I do notice you guys on your schedule. You guys do more than a lot of other teams, and you had some tough West region start. But I noticed you had some pretty good success in Grand Forks. How is that accumulating or coming down?
Yeah, we started out with Jamestown. That was a great duel for us. Got some confidence. We ended up wrestling Mandan and Legacy. Mandan, we were short a couple guys. They wrestled. Mandan's always tough. They star. We ended up dropping that one. Wrestled Legacy, had a good duel there. Went over to Minot. We had an opportunity to take Minot down. Minot stepped up to the challenge. We were wrestling in their house. It's always a hostile environment to be in. But they overtook us, and it was a great duel up all the way to the end. So going into Grand Forks, you're kind of left with, okay, what are we going to have? Are we going to have the team that we started out with in Jamestown, where we looked like a bunch of buzzsaws, or are we going to get ran over? It could have went either way. Kids right out of the gate, first duel. Wapaton had some opens, but that helped build our confidence. Once our confidence got built, we were a tough team to stop. I really feel in that tournament we gave Perham probably the best duel they had in the entire tournament. So we felt really pleased with the performance.
Well, awesome. Let's talk about this weekend coming up, and then I've got several topics to talk about. Now, you guys have a different schedule than a lot of teams. When I look at your guys' schedule, is there a philosophy behind, let's say, avoiding some of the West Region teams? Or I know to Century, you have rivals, and seeing the same teams all the time, I always thought would be kind of against any coach's philosophy. You kind of want to see different people. But tell me what you do and how you kind of arrange your schedule.
Our mindset when we make our schedule is, we see these guys enough, and every opportunity we can get out to see different competition, we try to take advantage of it fully. We want our thought behind it is the more we get out and wrestle some of those teams that have maybe a few higher caliber wrestlers than what we normally would see here in the state, that's only going to better us. And the best part about it is we also, our kids don't know who those kids are for the most part. Track wrestling, yeah, they can go look them up, whatever else, but the majority of our kids don't do that. So we get to a tournament, and they might wrestle a kid who's been a 3-time state place winner, and we're beating them because they had no idea who he was. When they can go down there and they can do those things, and then they find out later what type of kid or what type of caliber kid they just wrestled and beat, all of a sudden their confidence starts changing. So we look at it as an opportunity for us to get out, wrestle different styles. You go down to Wyoming, and the style of wrestling down there is completely different than the style of wrestling we see up here. And plus you get a few teams like Scottsbluff, Nebraska. They come in and they don't come in with a whole lot of kids. Like right now, I think they have 12 kids for that tournament, so they're going to have 2 open weights, but they're all hammers, every single one of them. And they constantly go, and they don't stop. They're great on their feet. They don't ride. So we have to get better on our feet when we go down there. And then you look at the other end of the spectrum, we're going to wrestle Basin Thunder from Gillette. Hello, Anna. but we're going to wrestle the Basin Thunder from Gillette, and that team, they ride legs like nobody's business. And when they get to a wrist, they're going to go for a tilt right away. So our kids get kind of used to that. It's just the more we can see different competition, the better. We don't like seeing the same kids over and over every weekend.
Right. So tell me the format there in Gillette you're going to, and when you take off, and how long you're down there, because you guys leave tomorrow.
We leave tomorrow morning. Yeah, we leave tomorrow morning. Format's excellent. You know, there's 8 teams invited, and it's a round robin tournament. So you wrestle every single team that has been invited to the tournament. So you look at it on this side. We could go to an individual tournament, and that's all fine and dandy and great. But your kids that need the matches at an individual tournament might only get 2.
That's right.
Where your average, you know, maybe your higher end kids, they're going to get the 3, 4, 5, 6, how many ever matches they get. You go to these dual tournaments, you know, the kids that need the matches, they're going to get them. So our lower end kids to our upper end kids, they're all going to get 7 matches, guaranteed. So for us, we look at it as a benefit. And I think, you know, the more I look at it, we have the Saratoga tournament that we go to, which is a dual tournament. We go to the Gillette tournament, which is a dual tournament. We're going to go to the East-West tournament out in Fargo, which is a dual tournament. I just think dual tournaments for us have been so beneficial in the fact that we're constantly getting mat time. So, and it's guaranteed.
And that's a good thing for Century. They have the numbers. They should be able to fill the weight classes.
Yeah.
Duals work out. I do see duals as being an issue in Class B more than anything else, just for the fact that numbers and people avoiding matches, trying to get victories for a team versus trying to get experience for their kids.
Right.
And so I'm a little jealous in that fact that you guys get to travel a lot, and I love seeing different wrestling, going different places.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, seeing some of that down there is phenomenal. Powell's always had a great team. They're not going to be there this year. I'm a little disappointed in that. But, you know, Scottsbluff, like I said, they just to watch their style, they are so good on their feet.
The one
so good.
To give you a comment on, or compliment is the best way to say it, is that when I see you guys come back from this, I do see different wrestlers come to Rotary, because you're short after Christmas here, then you're hopping into a pretty tough tournament, probably tougher than any state tournament is, of course, going into the Rotary, because you have all the different companies. But I see different kids and different attitudes usually on the mat, and I've always been impressed on how you do the team building. Do you have any? Is this also a good team building thing? Do you guys consider?
It is, yeah. Because the thing of it is we cherish the time, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people can't stand the whole bus thing, but we cherish the time on the bus. And this trip's a long trip, and so we get a lot of time that we get to spend individual one-on-one time with our kids. You know, talking to them about how they feel the season's going, where they think the season's going to lead to, what kind of struggles they're having, whether it's weight, could be maybe school, you know, it could be grade-wise. But it just gives us more one-on-one time with our kids, which you start building deeper and stronger relationships. And the kids love it. We love it. I mean, just in the end, it turns out to be a great experience for everybody involved.
Well, that's good. That is really good, because when I go through now, I talked a little bit behind the scenes with you before, and coaching philosophies and going into, you know, this coach wrestler relationship. I don't think many people that haven't been around wrestling really understand how close a wrestling coach really gets to their wrestlers. It's a different bond. I mean, not only do you wrestle with them on the mat, but it's a struggle mentally and physically. And tell me a little bit about how you guys, now I know you have an expansive coaching staff. How many do you get to take along to these bigger trips? And, you know, state tournament, you guys could fill half the side, you know, of lots of seats in the dual tournament. You got the first 7 chairs almost for coaches, you know, but they're always, but what's interesting, they're always helping individuals. And maybe that's part of the philosophy. These coaches they have a different look because they don't have to help everybody. They're helping kind of where they can specialize in the ones that kind of fit their niche.
Yeah. Going into it, I always had the mindset of one guy can't do the job. And it's not, you know, some guys maybe can, but to me, I think you better serve the athlete by getting as many people as you can that can help and that can work together. You know, kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it the perfect storm, whatever. But, you know, we do have quite a few coaches. In regards to who we take with, if everybody can come, we'll take them all. Building the relationships, it's been kind of nice. I'll go back to last year's state wrestling tournament. Jacob Rader's in the finals. I'm not even in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in the corner because predominantly I wasn't the one that worked with him. Jacob Rader, I was his head coach, but his corner coaches, the guys that really worked him over, the guys that really got Jacob going, got Jacob fired up, made Jacob work. That was Travis Lutman and Lucas Kruger. Those two guys were the ones that were constantly on Jacob, the ones that were constantly getting him to go. I love Jacob to death, and it's not because I didn't want to be in his corner. It's just those two guys were better for him. I mean,
right.
Just based off his style and everything else, those two guys were better for Jacob than what I was. So those two deserve to be with Jacob, And then you got like a Seth Braun and a Riley Raisler and a Connor Stordahl. And I'm not a heavyweight, nor will I ever pretend to be one, and I'll never wrestle like one. But then you got a guy like Baron Blanchard from Horizon Middle School who's worked with all three, and for them, I mean, it's an easy choice for me. Baron's kind of their guy.
It doesn't hurt.
No.
6'10" and about 250 pounds of pure muscle. Yeah.
Kind of an advantage.
Yeah.
So, you got Baron in the room, and that it just makes sense. Like, Baron should be working with those guys. That's what makes them better.
I'll tell you what, I would give you total thumbs up that's the biggest improvement I've seen with your coaching from day one to day two is not the micromanaging and allowing other coaches to be coaches. I tell you what, you've taken some of my Mandan wrestlers and pulled them into your room who are good individuals.
They're awesome. They are awesome.
Good individual, and they all had special moves, and I see that they shine with the individuals.
Yeah.
And they kind of know their job. It's not like they try to step in and do too much.
No.
And I don't know where that comes from. If you can find a way to manage the right way, but so far it's been kind of the perfect storm. The old J, and I've mentioned JJ before, and he watches these shows too. And got to coach with him several years, and I always consider him probably the number one motivator I've ever coached with.
There is no doubt.
I have no doubt that he could take the kid who's as timid as all get out and pull fire out of him, and make him spit fire out on the mat. I've seen it. Now, I've also seen him try to teach some technique he shouldn't be doing, but that's JJ, and you gotta love him to death. Darren Holbein, I talk about him now. He's one who, surprisingly, I wish that he would have spent more time in the coaching of some of the younger kids, because they just fell in love with him. When I was coaching in Mandan in the kids room, he's got a lot to offer. Tell me some more of your assistant coaches. Let's give them a holler out and see. I know a guy that's been there forever. Actually, let's talk about Travis Rao too.
Travis Rao, yeah. I'll tell you what, Travis Rao has done wonders for that program. I mean, Travis Rao has been a part of Century Wrestling, I think, since 1999 was his first year. So he was a part of, back in the Ken Gabriel days. He was a part of the Hills and Dagger era, and he's come along with me. At first, I didn't know. I didn't know if he was going to be open to being a part of the program, or maybe he wanted out. Maybe he wanted to go coach middle school. I really didn't know.
He doesn't work in the school system.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. So it was kind of, is he going to want to? So I asked, and he, yep. Let's give it a go. See where this goes. And he's done he is the calm before the storm, right? He is the one that will calm the coaching staff. He will calm the kids. He just has that, that's part of his job. He works with PYB, and he's able to talk to the kids in a way that we probably can't. Not that we physically can. It's just we just don't know how to talk to him like the way he can. So he can definitely get the kids to talk a little bit more openly.
Talk about a person who changed his life too. He used to wrestle the heavyweights.
Yes.
Now talk probably about the 140 pounders. I don't know.
Yes, no, he has definitely transformed his body. There is no doubt, and obviously for the better. So him being able to do that, it's helped us substantially as well, because now he can wrestle with the heavyweights. He can wrestle with the upper weights. So that's been a benefit too. But I mean, he brings a different personality. You got, like you said, JJ. JJ is one, hands down, the best motivator I've ever met in my entire life. He can take a kid who has had the worst day of his life, and by the time we're walking out of practice, that kid has forgotten every negative thing that's happened to him during the day. Travis Rao can talk to those kids in a way that there's no way I could. Like, Travis can get those kids to open up more about what's going on with their lives than any one of us can. So yeah, and you got Josiah Simberger. You're talking about Mandan guys. Josiah helped us out the last couple of years. I think he's done wonders for some of those boys. Isaiah Bitts, I'm going to use as an example. Bitsy is one of Joe's boys. I mean, and we're trying to. Joe's not with us right now. He's out in Iowa, but we're trying to take over where Joe left off, and trying to keep Bitsy doing what he's doing. And Bitsy thrived working with Joe. Then you have Mason Schultz last year. Mason was one of Darren's kids. Darren worked with Mason extensively. Darren's working with Devin right now. I mean, you just go down the line. We all kind of have our own crew, and it's not that I don't coach the other kids and the bigger kids and whatever else, but it's just when those kids get on the mat, this is who I want out here yelling at this kid, because that's who works with them predominantly for the day. So.
How do you do your practice planning? Do you guys get together as a coaching staff? Do you have a general idea coming back from a tournament of what you want to cover? Or do you kind of have some stuff written from year to year, kind of follow a plan? Or do you have anything in particular that you could give us a clue?
Well, yeah, practice plans. When we come back from a tournament, so we're going to be sending our JV out to Valley City this weekend, and then our varsity is going to be going down to Gillette. So the coach is going to Valley. They'll take notes as to what they've seen or what they saw out in Valley in regards to what we feel like we need to fix. Obviously, we'll do the same thing down in Gillette. So that's going to be Monday's focus when we come back to the room. Tuesday's focus switches. Tuesdays, so what will end up happening is that night I'll get home, I'll make up a practice plan, and then I'll send it out to the coaches. Based off of that, they'll kind of go through, nitpick, what they think maybe this is what we should do. Lemar, I don't think maybe we should work on this. Let's work on this instead. So by the time I get all the responses back about the next day at about lunch, I'm finalizing the practice plan. I'll resend it to them, and then there's Tuesday. Wednesday, like today we did Ironman. I stole that. I go to when I can go to the coaches conventions that we get to go to. I'll try to steal as much as possible. Clay Nagel has a lot of good stuff, and one of the things that he does is he does an Ironman, and it's probably one of the the kids know. So like when they walk into the room and I've got Ironman from Ozzy Osbourne playing, they know what kind of practice it's going to be.
The old red flag, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. We got to put our big boy shorts on right now. So we'll do Ironman every once in a while, but basically, I'll pre-write the practice plan. I'll try to send it to the coaches. They'll look it over, and then based off of what I send, they'll kind of come up with what they think we should be working on, and then off of that, we'll finalize a plan, and that's what we'll stick with for the day. But yeah, our Mondays are fixed days.
Yeah.
Let's look at what we did over the weekend, maybe even on Thursday, and then let's fix on Monday. And then from Monday, we can start stemming off where we want to go. Where do we think we need work? I'll tell you, like track wrestling I know a lot of people use Huddle, and a lot of people might use Matt Boss. But one of the things that I really like with track wrestling is you can really start looking at your percentages in regards to, how often are you taking the guys down, or how often are you getting taken down? How's your bottom work going right now? How are you doing on top? So we'll look at those too. So we'll look at the statistics, and we'll start judging. Okay, I think we need to do a little bit more work on our feet. You know what? This looking like we're kind of struggling on bottom. Let's do some more chain wrestling on bottom. On top, yeah, we're not riding all that well. Looks like we're getting a lot of stall calls here. We need to get moving. So we'll look at that, and we'll look at that stuff too, and kind of judge from there.
Okay. Usually, is there anything that you do as the season goes, tapering wise? Are you like a lot of the other coaches that, once Christmas hits, they're, maybe end of January or so forth? Are you going more intense? Are you starting to do more drilling versus wrestling, or more wrestling versus drilling? We used to always have, it's kind of funny, I look back at the century years, and it's so many years ago, but we used to have the days when they were, let's say tough, toward the end of the week and toward the end of the year, they'd start out practice just with free roll. And we were good enough partners with one another that it ended up being almost live wrestling, but you start off going kind of slow rolling it, and then all of a sudden, guess what? We're already intense, and you don't even know it's happening. But there's nothing like
when we get towards the end of January and we start working into February, we look at it as a time to start tapering off a little bit. We'll do a little bit more drilling, and it's more like live drilling than it is actual drilling. So it's kind of a cross between drilling and live, if you will. The other thing too is we want to protect a little bit. We've been stung in the butt a few times in the past with going a little too hard towards basically the region state. And now all of a sudden we got kids that are sitting up due to concussion protocol. Could be a knee, could be a shoulder, could be an elbow, those things. So we start to taper off just a little bit. Plus we want to keep our kids energized. The problem I've always run into, or not that I've experienced it, but one of the things I struggle with is you ask a kid when they start getting towards the end of January or February, are you excited for state? And some of the responses are, well, yeah, I'm excited because it's going to be over. It's like, well, okay, I'm so excited for state to come around because now I can start eating, or so excited for state to come around so now I can actually have a life, sort of a thing. And I want kids to be excited when it comes to state, that it's state and I have a chance to stand on the podium. So that's what we try to taper it back so that way the kids stay energized and excited.
Well, that makes really good sense, because it's different on how people's goals are. See, for some reason, my goals is going through it. Maybe this is a little leading, and it happens with kids too. But I always had this ultimate goal that state was almost the end picture. And that being on the top of that podium and being a state champion was kind of the ultimate goal. Well, I had other teammates whose goals were higher or different. I had Terry and Troy Steiner that their goal was way beyond that. And I never fathomed that because it wasn't me and it wasn't other people. So I had to actually refocus as a coach, going, maybe my goals as a coach isn't what their goals is as a wrestler. And so I had to kind of balance that as a coach. And so I don't know where you're at with that. And goal setting is kind of an interesting thing for different coaches. I don't think it necessarily needs to be something that's written down or said, but maybe it needs to be understood a little bit in just conversations and that relationship, coach wrestler relationship again. I don't know. I talked to Randy Berwick about this. Now, we haven't done this online with him, but just sitting on the side at the mat. And he's in a small town, and he has goals from day one of, being region champs, and goals of winning the duels and making sure they're in the duels. And they set this up as a team. He always says that they have these team goals, and I'm going to have to really sit down with him and see how he does this as an individual with his guys, or if it's his goals or he tries to make it the complete team goals. I don't know.
Yeah, I write out my goals every year before the season starts, and I don't write them out. I type them out, I print them off, and they're in my bag in my portfolio. In the past, what we've done is when we get to the second half of the season, we'll have kids start writing down what their goals are, and in the past, we've actually taped them around the room. So you have kids like a Jacob Rader, who his goal is obviously state championship. And then you would have other kids like, I don't know, we'll go with an Isaiah Bitts, whose goal was to just be on the podium, top 8. So we'll have kids do that. And then sometimes we tape them around the room so that way they can remind themselves what their goal is and how is it I'm going to obtain that goal. Mm-hmm. I always have my own personal goals. My goals are no different probably than what Randy's are in regards to, we always want to be top 5 in state. Our goal is as a team to at least qualify for the dual tournament, top 4 in the duels. I mean, that's kind of always been my mainstay in regards to goals, because when you can consistently do that, you're having success. I mean, do you want to obviously reach that pinnacle of success? Yes, you do. But having those goals that you can at least obtain can help lead to those further goals. So
I had mentioned this last year in a live broadcast a couple of years ago of the miracle on how Bismarck has stayed in the top 3 in the individual since the beginning of time for wrestling in the state of North Dakota. You think of how tough the teams were last year. Mandan was tough. Minot was tough. You guys were loaded with seniors. there was a very big possibility they could have placed fourth. West Fargo has enough studs to have a half a dozen maybe in the finals last year, and you're going, oh my, the possibility and having those goals of not only being state champs, but there's no way that you're not knocking us out of the top three is phenomenal. So
yeah.
So it's one of those tributes to Bismarck, like you said, coming to this part of the state and kind of being the mecca of wrestling.
It's crazy. It's absolutely, you look at it, I don't know if there's any other part of the state, and it's not just Class A either. I mean, you look at Bismarck as a whole, so you've got Bismarck High, Bismarck Century, now you're throwing Legacy into the mix. St. Mary's has always had kids that have had tremendous success, but now you're looking at 4 schools, and then you start considering the fact of, oh, okay, well, there's Napoleon right outside of the city. Oh, Linton's not too far off. Oh, wait, Ashley Wishick's right around the corner. Oh, New Salem's right down the road. You're going out just in our little area of the state. Like, we control wrestling. Yeah. I mean, as far as talent and tradition and everything else, it's crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. You just look at the success that the Bismarck programs have had, and then the communities that are surrounding Bismarck. I mean, that success, it spreads and it feeds off of each other. It's phenomenal. It's fun to be a part of and just to watch.
And I've noticed coaches help coaches more than you would think. Rivals, but as much as competition is, you are helping kids.
Yes.
I know when we go into the Mat Pack room, or I go into Melmer's room, mm-hmm. and you see that in the summer, where are all the Century wrestlers? The guys, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, they're training with Melmer, or Schumacher, or with the state teams or whatever. So it's a bigger picture. People don't realize that in the state of North Dakota, as the state is, there's more that happens out there than just an individual coach.
Oh, absolutely. It was kind of fun too. Like the summer, we ended up going down to Nebraska for team camp down there, team competition. We've always historically brought in kids from other, like we took some New Salem boys, we've taken some Legacy kids. We've taken my brother's team from Castleton. We've gone with them. Then this summer, NDSU started the summer league, which was fantastic. So you go out to NDSU on a Wednesday, and you're guaranteed like 2 or 3 duels every week, every Wednesday. So we ended up hooking up with Legacy, and we brought kids from Century and kids from Legacy, went down there, and we were just the Bismarck area, and we got those kids 2 to 3 matches every Wednesday. So it was. Yeah, you look at it, and we're always continuously scratching each other's backs, and the reason for that is we want it to stay here, we want it to stay alive here, and we want the competitiveness to keep growing in these communities. So it's nice. It's nice that we got with one another.
It's nice. Every once in a while, you see a North Dakota guy ranked in one of those national rankings too. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely.
Okay, how about some of your college wrestlers? You've had some success in the last few years with some of your guys in college. Tell me a few of the guys out there that wrestle for Century that are wrestling in college right now.
Well, right here at home, University of Mary right now, which is exciting to watch, I might add. Coach Aho has done a wonderful job transforming that program, and we're starting to get back to when Mary was loaded and you had nothing but hammers all the way through the lineup. So we're starting to get back to that. You look at his dual team or his tournament team, and the first 3 kids that step on the mat are all from Bismarck. So you've got 125, Nate Hooman, wrestling for Century. Up next, you got Tate Barnhart, wrestling for Bismarck St. Mary's. Right after Tate, you got Hunter Eckert, wrestling for Century. And now he's even scored a few more Bismarck kids as far as committing with the Parker Wall, who was committed. Steidler has committed. And he's doing the right things, and it's great because I'm finally excited to see some of these Bismarck kids stick around and contribute to that team. So those guys, I've got Nate and Hunter over at Mary, and they're doing wonderfully for Aho there. And then Mason Schultz went over to Moorhead State, and he's had some early success in the Opens, wrestling for Chris Nelson. He won the Jamestown Open. He ended up taking 4th at the Bison Open. So I'm proud of those kids that are out there on the mat and still killing it, still crushing it. It's fun to watch.
Here's one thing I really like. I get back in the Century room and has the tradition on the walls. You see, I know the Bismarck got their pictures and their state champs, but you can see the state placers still on the wall. And I don't know what you've done with all the pictures, but there used to be a ton of the pictures of the wrestlers around.
So in the back office right now, we still have all the pictures. So what we're going to, how the pictures were put up there, that was just so like, it was ugly.
Could have
Like
been, yeah,
so we took the pictures down. And part of the reason we took the pictures down is because they're falling off the walls. You have, they're using the room, just like every other high school, I guess, right now. The room's kind of be called a multi-purpose room because of space. So you got other people coming in there and they might knock something down. And so what we're going to do this summer is the coaching staff and I, we're going to frame those pictures up there so it actually looks like professional, if you will. So those will be framed up there after this summer. So we'll still have all the names on the walls on the wall when you walk in. When you look to the left, kind of where the office is, you'll see all the pictures up there after this summer. So it'll look nice. It'll look good.
I want to see Century bring a state championship back someday here soon too.
we do too. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but okay, now a couple other things. I talked about a few other things. How about promoting your team? Now, here's one thing that I've really noticed, and maybe it's your parents. I know you've got one of the best helpers in the state. She's emailing. Since I've got a seventh grader, I've got many emails from her, and you name it, Mrs. Schultz. But does a wonderful job. But the big thing I want to know is, what it takes to promote your team. Now, I know I've watched a couple of your duels already on Facebook. Now, of course, there's no commentating, but at least you can see the wrestling. I saw during the Mandan duel, I had my phone on watching your guys up at Minot. So, So tell me a little bit about promoting your team, what you do, and so forth.
Yeah, I will say is in regards to parents, I have some of the best parents in the school, helping the program out. It's to the point where the parents are asking us, what do you guys need to be successful? You need, and we'll work to get it. When it comes to promoting the team, Marcy is has, we've contacted the National Guard as to giving us postcards and everything else that we can send out to local businesses. She has the kids go out preseason. They go out to local businesses trying to get our team out there. She's kind of spearheaded the whole ordeal, and I can't imagine what it would be without her. I mean, she's just done a phenomenal job as to making sure that we're taken care of, the kids are taken care of, and that the team is being promoted in the right way. So she's done a wonderful job. And then the parents that she's been able to, that was the other thing, and she did a great job as promoting parent involvement. A lot of teams, you might only have a handful of parents that are involved with what's happening within the team, and she's done a pretty good job as to making sure that everybody is involved, everybody knows what's going on. She's done a wonderful job. It's been great.
Okay. Anything coming up besides, for your team? You guys got anything going on over Christmas? Do you guys have anything big? How do you handle your Christmas practices? Tell me a little bit there.
Well, it's a little different. This is kind of the grind of the season right now, because we'll go to Gillette, and that's a grind. And then we come back from Gillette. We're going to have a week off, but it's not really a week off because now we're prepping for the Rumble on the Red.
I forgot you get to go to the Rumble. I knew my boy. So, you go if he wants to go. I don't know. We'll see.
So we'll be prepping for the Rumble. We'll have practices over Christmas, just like any other team. Prepping for the Rumble. I mean, we're going to have, I think, like 2 days off for Christmas, 2 or 3. And then it's solid practice all the way through until we get to the Rumble. So we'll have the Rumble that we're competing in over Christmas break. We'll come back from the Rumble. After the Rumble, I think we give them 2 days off. I think we give them the 31st and the 1st off. And then we come back, and then obviously we're getting ready for the Rotary. So there's not a whole lot of break in between the break. And, I remember growing up, I mean, we had a long break. We really had a break. And when I got to college, that was obviously different, but there's not really a whole lot of break. So we're going to be constantly working. The 22nd, there's no school, but we'll have practice that morning at 9 a.m. We'll give them the 23rd and the 24th and I think we might be practicing the 23rd. I still have to relook at that. But 24th, 25th, they'll get out. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. For surely we're coming back into the room on the 26th and the 27th. We'll leave the 27th to go down to Fargo. We'll have a practice that morning on the 27th. They'll get showered up. They'll get all their stuff. We'll get on the bus. We'll get to Fargo. We'll check in at the Fargo Dome. While we're checking in, we'll get them down on the floor, get their weights checked, make sure that we're either below or on. And then we'll have a short little go down there, get to the hotel, relax, and then it's go time at the Rumble. So, and then, our room grows after this weekend because this weekend's the junior high state tournament. It'll be held up in Minot. When that's over, of course, middle school athletes are invited to come into the high school room, which is exciting for us as we get to see some of their faces, get to know them a little bit better. Plus, we get
how many kids usually get coming up from the junior high?
Well, this year I'm hoping to get a lot. There's a lot of 7th graders right now in that Horizon Wrestling room for hydration. Jax did. The Dodds boy did. There's a lot of boys from that 7th grade class that came through. The 8th grade class, I think we only had 4 that came through for hydration. But typically, we get the majority of those kids to come in, and then they typically stick around until be like the Mandan JV tournament that ends in I think it's the first weekend in February.
Correct.
And essentially, what we tell those kids that come in, I mean, if you're going to put in the time, so wherever we go, they're more than welcome to come with for the majority of the trips that we go on. Obviously, the duels that we wrestle in, we add them to the roster. So we look at it as a positive thing, not a negative thing, just for the simple fact that we get new bodies in the room. We get to know the kids that are eventually going to come to Century. So it gives us an extra opportunity to start developing a relationship with them when they're younger, as compared to just coming in as a freshman. So it's a good thing. I'm excited for those kids to come in next week.
How does it work for the weight classes? Now, I've always wondered that years ago they used to have the lighter ones. Now I know we have some kids that weigh 85, 90 pounds.
Yeah.
And then after the JV schedule, do they still have some of the lighter weight classes, or everybody wrestling 106?
Well, if like the tournaments are tournaments, they can only, that's low because it's NFHS. It's 106. But when we go ahead.
Like Grand Forks, when they had the dual tournament, they got that JV tournament in the back.
Yes, the JV. So now those that I don't know, but they didn't go through track. So I don't know. But the JV tournament in Grand Forks, they made up kind of their own weights. They just kind of picked and choose who went where. Some of those tournaments, they will be able to do that. The Rumble, for example, I think they will have some lighter weight classes there for some of those kids, and they do have. And I gotta look to check the dates again and the times, but they do have the middle school division, JV division, and the varsity division. So if we have those middle school kids that come with, there's an opportunity or a chance for us to throw them into that middle school division where they can be successful. So but I just got to look at those dates again and the times just to make sure that I tell them the right thing. But then there'll be other tournaments where they'll just pair them up as best they can, and kind of like the old, okay, get in a line, you 3 are in this pool, you 3 are in this pool, and what have you. But yeah, so it'll be good. I'm excited.
Trying to get mat time,
That's it. That's all that matters.
Oh, good deal. One more thing. Toward the end of the season, when it gets there, what do you think? Now, this is more opinion than not any, but what do you see for the future of coaching in the state of North Dakota? Is the coaching young? Is it getting old? Is it if there's a young that wants to get into coaching, how would you best tell them to get in? Somebody wanted
to. Right now, as far as the state of coaching is concerned, you look at kind of where we are in the West. A lot of the same names are still in those schools. You got Dobitz over in Dickinson. We're fairly young in Williston. I think Sean's done a pretty good job up there. He's getting his kids excited to be part of the team, to be in the sport. Justin Racine up in Minot, he's fairly young. Done a good job as to making sure that those kids, I think he's done a really great job as to getting those kids to stay with wrestling and to keep his numbers up. Bismarck High, Lardy just got named co-head coach down there. So, you have to assume that they're going to be around for quite some time. I'm not super old yet. I don't think I am. But if I'm a younger individual right now, going through school and I want to get into coaching, I think right now, when you get the opportunity and you have the time, you need to contact somebody to get your foot in the door. I mean, you get the earlier, the better. So that way you can actually start developing some sort of philosophy. The majority of them will have a philosophy coming in anyways. And for the most part, younger coaches, you're vocal, you're loud. So the more you can get in, or the earlier you can get in to start learning kind of, okay, maybe I shouldn't be like that. Make your mistakes early so you can correct them as you get further along. That's probably the biggest thing. I mean, right now I know Nate Hooman from Mary. I mean, he's one of my kids. He's going to school to be a teacher, wants to coach wrestling, and right now he's helping the Guerrilla Wrestling Club, which is a fantastic thing. I mean, for the most part, that's probably your first in. Try to contact the club. You can get into a club, that's great, because that club will eventually feed you to another high school, if that's your ultimate goal. So right now he's helping with the Guerrilla Club, and right now he's still wrestling in college, but once he's done, he's going to want to work his way into whether it's a middle school or high school. So that's where I kind of see it starting anyways.
Okay, well, very good. Well, it's been awesome talking to you. Awesome. I tell you what, I was going to bring up some other topic, and it's not necessarily with Mr. Lemar here, but I'm putting something on Dakota Grappler tonight called the 12-day challenge. So I haven't told Lemar about this at all, but it's basically, I started writing this about, I'd say almost 10 years ago, and it started to do with my coaching philosophy. So it's not that I'm an expert on much of anything, but I kind of want some coaches to realize the bigger picture. So I've kind of set out a 12-day challenge and kind of placing things into perspective. I think some coaches have never really sat down and really know their philosophy to start off, and then how to build relationships. And I've kind of set up a 12-day plan, and I'm going to set this out. I've been working on this for quite a while, so it's a day-to-day process. And so I'm going to go through the list. And I put this on Dakota Grappler earlier, but if you listen close, I guess some of you guys who are out there, maybe you'll take the challenge, just kind of look what I want to accomplish. So today I want people, I'm going to have a worksheet out there on people looking at their coaching philosophy. And I got this from the National Federation of High Schools, and they kind of have a coaching plan for people. You had to be certified too, so you probably saw some of this. But laying out your philosophies and what you think should be done as a coach and what's most important. Now, I've always thought it's kind of the softer side, the national a little bit. They want you to make sure the kid comes first and everything else, which is important to realize as a coach that you're there for them and not for you. And so some of that. And then going back, and I'm going 12 days of Christmas. So it's, you can kind of keep up with me. Day 11, I've got coach wrestler relationship and how to develop one. And what you see, I actually wrote a couple things down here too in that relationship. I also put down developing basically ownership so that the wrestlers feel that they're part of it, making wrestlers coachable, and also making the coach approachable. Two different things there. And then day 10, organizing a program. Basically, how do you set things out? And some coaches fall right into it and find a way, but I think there's some lumps that some new coaches take, and that's kind of leading to the last question that I had given you on new coaches getting in. But organizing a program and basically setting it up so that you can be a successful manager instead of a micromanager. Yeah. And that's one thing that I really kind of stole from you when I was doing this a couple of years ago, is just watching you on the side, and it was eating my heart, saying, gosh, that's one of his best wrestlers, and these two just hop out on the mat like you didn't even belong. But then I watch you and see, I think this is kind of planned, because it was almost like they kind of pushed you out of the way, get out of my way, this is my guy. And that was Jared Doran, who's kind of can set off people that way a little bit, which I know that from him. But then, and it actually, one of the times I first noticed it was a state finals match, probably about 5 years ago. And you know how the coaches dress up in their suits and look good, and all of a sudden, you stepped up, kind of undid your tie a little bit, and someone else stepped into your spot and sat down. I'm going, oh my, that takes a lot to do that. And I've never seen other head coaches. You know, I've been with other people, and
Oh yeah.
and they would never turn that chance to be on that center mat to help their kid out. You know, so that's part of that. And so you can speak up on that too. So, and then the next day 9.
My biggest thing has always been, like, you know, like I said, it's hard to say it, but I've always kind of had the philosophy, like with my guys, with the guys that I coach with. I mean, I honestly feel any one of them could be a head coach anywhere else. You know, that's what I truly believe that, and that's how much faith I have in those guys. And I just, you know, like Travis Lutman and Lucas Kruger developed such a strong relationship with Jacob Rader and like a Cameron Rance and some of those other guys. And it's like, you know, those guys, yeah, I could probably go and coach them in the corner, but I think to Jacob, it probably meant more to have Lutman and Kruger. I love Jacob, and we have a very strong relationship. There's no doubt about it. But I think when it came to competing and wrestling, Travis Lutman and Lucas Kruger were the ones that constantly got after him in practice. And I mean, those two deserve to be in his corner. And I just don't think it's any one person who should, you know, quote unquote, be the guy that has to be in the corner all the single time, you know, every single time. I think you need to have the guy that should be in the corner is the guy that knows that wrestler inside out. You know, Travis Rao probably knows Riley Raisler more than Riley might know himself sometimes. And Travis will be in the corner along with Barron, because Barron's the other one that he knows Riley inside and out. You know, Barron's one of the ones that got Riley to be in wrestling for that matter. So for Riley, that's a special moment to have in the corner. I mean, it is what it is, and that's nothing. My coaches did a wonderful job with me, but you know, one of the assistant coaches was my guy, and he was in the corner for me when the not that every match doesn't matter, because it does, but when it came down to it, like, that was the guy that was in the corner. So I kind of learned that at a younger age from my head coach, Brian Linsmeyer. That guy probably taught me a lot of just the mentality of not being, quote unquote, the guy. You know, don't be selfish, be humble, be not a micromanager like you're talking. You know, I just that's not me. So it's good.
Okay, well then, that's awesome. Well then, day 9, I wanted to talk about coaching responsibilities. What's your number one responsibility? Day 8, I want to talk about motivation, how coaches motivate. Day 7, so this is going to be day by day. I'm going to be laying some of this stuff out, and I've got most of it all done. So some late evenings will put the rest of it together. But I decided to do this, and I'm going to dive headfirst in. Day 7 is working out practice plans and being successful doing that, because I really think some coaches don't do enough of the planning. It's kind of like a teacher. You get into kind of these years you've taught it so many times, it just comes natural. Yeah. But yet at times you get the focus isn't in the right place. I know I've taught for 20 years, but some days I need to plan exactly what I wanted to get across. You know, your practice plan / your teaching plan has to kind of, you know, there's new philosophies out there, and I do believe in some of them that I'm learning. Even old dog can learn new tricks, basically.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Some of that, day 6, skills to develop and when they're most important. If it's going to be, you know, learning a half in first grade versus a headlock, you know, that type of thing. Some of developing those skills. Notice enough wrestlers don't know how to wrestle on the mat. Maybe that's coaching philosophy. You know, a good switch, a good sit out should have been taught a long time ago. I think it's been missed. I think some of those levels of learning skills have been missed because it's been so important to be on your feet, and we've missed some things in wrestling, especially in the state, to get to that next level. You see good kids out on bottom for no reason. Yep. And then day 5, goal setting. Now, as this gets closer to Christmas, goal setting should have been done previous to the season, and maybe I should have done this at the beginning too. But I was thinking some of this goal season should never stop. It's kind of a season-wide goal, and it's also maybe a weekly/daily goals. Something when I go into practice and I was cutting weight. Now, we did weight cutting way different than they do nowadays. But I had an idea in my head as how hard I needed to work, and I had a goal that today I'm wrestling John Corwin, who is a stud wrestler, and he is not going to take me down more than 5 times in a minute, or something as simple as that, because he was so good. He was so good on his feet. I had certain goals, and then I'd wrestle Terry and Troy Steiner and my goals, and I used to write them down, and I wish I still had that tablet, but I used to have a goal that said, Terry Steiner will not score on me. And he didn't. I had those type of goals, and so I could check them off. Troy, who weighs 3 weight classes below me at the time, but I'd say, he is not going to score on me today. And then some days I could check it off, some days I wouldn't. We would say that, an hour before practice started, we had a goal as a group that we were going to get together every day our senior year, an hour before practice. And we did takedowns in a group of 4 usually. And we would go and we'd have our own little competitions. We used to shave hair off the legs if you got taken down by everybody in the group. And Terry Steiner had a bald leg, had one complete leg. But you'd have to get taken down by everybody before you took somebody down. And so we'd go in a circle, and then somebody like Troy, who was so good, would not ever have to take any hair off of his leg, because he'd always take somebody down in the group. It was like, oh man, we were gonna get him. Terry, it was your turn. And we'd always blame him that it was his fault that something would go wrong, But little things like that, making sure you know how to set some goals, and realistic goals. Because honestly, the thing that makes a team successful is finding those kids who are borderline placing and getting them on the stand, or the ones that are good to be a 5th, 6th, and find a way to get in that 3rd and 4th place match. And not having them having the goal. The goal can be a state champion, yes, but there's got to be, let's find the stand first, and then have a goal of moving up every time. Having an odd number on your placement and not an even. That's a very important goal for kids, that once you lose a match at state. I've had several kids who lost in the semis and ended up 6th when they were the 3rd best kid in state.
Right.
And it's so disappointing as a coach, going, geez, their reality didn't hit that it's bigger than them too sometimes, that the team becomes more at certain aspects of the tournament, that it's something that wasn't taught to them, that it's not just about them also, that has to be taught to kids. And goal setting. You have to not just do a goal for yourself, but you need to do a team goal.
Expand.
You're participating in.
Yep.
Maybe one of the goals has to be that I'm going to compliment other wrestlers, during the day. Some kids are socially inept when it comes to helping other people out. They're so focused on themselves that really this team building, when you go to these dual things, is a great opportunity for these kids to realize that it is everybody on the team.
Yep.
So that's something that I think that's missed out there. And some people that don't get to experience the dual, these smaller teams, don't realize how important that can be for team building. Because really, you have 7, 8 guys and you got to forfeit a bunch. You're not looking at a win, so they don't know what that is. Okay, so then on day 4, promoting your team. Coaches miss this a lot, making sure that their wrestlers become number 1. That means that you have the focus, sometime maybe in your goal, is getting them on the front page of your local newspaper, not page 4 of the sports or page 2. Right. How can you get wrestling or your wrestling team promoted? It doesn't mean they have to be state champs, but how can we do something to show that our team's successful? If it's community building, if it's going out and, I know Century's very good at that. And that's one thing that we need to do more in Mandan, is to do the community relationship stuff. And that can get you on the front page. It doesn't mean champs. It means that you're doing something good beyond your sport.
Yep.
And then day 3 going down is doing research. Basically, as a coach, becoming better. If it's watching, not just track wrestling, getting the stats, but there's YouTube videos, there's trainings, there's so many things you can go over to. I'm trying to think of, there's so many of the huddle. I mean, there's so many places you can catch wrestling out there that you used to.
You bet. So many different medias that you can go to.
And so, and I know it's exhausting as a coach, and there's so many, like, you guess you need an evening. Maybe I should not turn on these videos, but guess what? During this 14-week period, that's where you got to grow. You got to grow more than you think.
And so
I watched
some of us can't help ourselves either. Like we are constantly doing that, and it becomes becomes an obsession, and it's like, well, I wonder how I can do it this way, and you look for something that, oh, hey, look at that. And it's it becomes an obsession after a while.
7
But it's
years
a good thing.
I had to turn off the college wrestling part because I was getting caught up in the college stuff a lot and watching that. And I go, I'm going to minimize it because if I can promote wrestling at the high school level, focus there. It really helped when Rich Mathern came in, and he's a big college guy that I didn't actually. I would spend so much time focusing on both that I don't think I did justice enough on one. So him kind of being in the college now, he comes back in this high school, and I'm so happy for what he's doing with indie wrestling out there. If you guys don't know Mr. Headlock, he's a great promoter of the sport. And my big belief, anytime, now I've had several people ask me, I'm going beyond my thing here, and maybe I shouldn't talk too much about it, but basically anybody that wants to promote the sport, I'm going to give them a thumbs up. It's never competition for me as a promoter of the I've never been in it to be the best or do whatever. I just want to push wrestling, and he's doing it awesome. And I wish that if he ever needed help, anything, he can come my way and feels the same way with what I'm doing. So Rich, if you're out there watching it, Mr. Mattern, you can call me for anything. You can wear some Grappler Wrestling t-shirts. So I don't have my Grappler Wrestling shirts on. I've got a shirt for you too. I'll tell you about that later. Okay. Day 2, getting down to this, teaching leadership, making sure, and you can go a lot of different ways with leadership, but just making sure you stand out people, stand up, humble people when it's all said and done. That's tough to do for some kids, especially in the toughness of wrestling, is being a good sport, part of that leadership. And if you probably watched the Facebook thing of Carson Wentz. I'm not an Eagle fan, but I'm a Carson Wentz fan. I got to give him a little shout out. Getting injured this last week, and he puts out a video, and he was as humble as you can get. Work hard. And he has his belief in Jesus Christ, and he knows that his path and goal is a certain thing. And if I could play that video again, it's motivation. And day 1, I want to talk about the future of coaching in wrestling. And I kind of brought it up with you, but I think it's a bright future. It's just making sure that you get out there and do it. We don't have enough teacher coaches anymore, and I want the future to get bigger, better. And teaching is a great job for people. If you don't understand how you get to have a real, true family life, you get to have the schedule of your kids. And there's nothing like having an opportunity to coach or teach your own kid. There's nothing like it. So
I've convinced 2 of my former wrestlers that is the route that they want to take. So Nate Hooman is on that path currently, and so is Jacob Rader. So both those individuals are on the path to finish schooling, become educators, and then coach somewhere, wherever that may be. So so that makes me feel good inside that I was able to at least get those 2 convinced, that because they have those leadership abilities. Like they had it in the room, they had it on the mat, they had it every time they competed. And then for them to be able to socialize with the other coaches from other teams and just be down to earth and humble with them. And to me, that was a telltale sign of, okay, this is where you guys need to be. So that's nice.
And here's
good.
The big thing in the coaches are misunderstood because it's usually in the heat of a battle that somebody sees a coach. And that's another thing I'd really like to change when it comes to the social part of this and getting coaches on here and seeing that they're human and they work hard and maybe they're not the best person to take a look at during the competition sometimes. I know many people that if you get them on a one-on-one basis, you know that their heart is in the right place, and somehow in the competition that it just turns out a different way, and people don't see them the same way, and competition's tough.
No, in the competition wise, you're only going for one kid. Competition wise, I'm going for the kid that's wearing the Century singlet right now. That's my job. These are the kids that I developed relationships with. However, I've also developed relationships with other kids that are wearing different singlets. And outside, No, at the end of the day, I want what's best for like an Adam DeBoer that I want for a Riley Raisler. You know, I've developed relationships with those kids too that, I mean, I want to see them succeed because they promote wrestling in probably the best way anybody can. And that's by stepping on the mat and doing what they can do. I mean, they represent North Dakota, you know, like a Ryan Ripplinger and a Kyle Berwick. Yeah, it's phenomenal. You want to cheer those guys on. And when we're wrestling against those guys, yeah, I'm gonna look a little bit different because my kid's out there wrestling them. So yeah, you're right. The coaches aren't the people you want to look at when the competition's going on. You want to look at the kids because that's truly what this is all about. It's about those guys that step on the mat to do what they do. It's about them, 100%. So
true. And I'm going to give a shout out to my dad, kind of enough. He's probably watching the show out there. Such a misunderstood coach.
But a legend in his own right.
In certain ways, he was as much of a competitor as I know. But I had many people come, oh, he looks so mean. And he's a teddy bear. But I had so many people as I'm going, he's your dad? You know, oh my. You know, is he almost like, does he beat you at home? You know, almost that type of thing. No, he's just an intense person, but he was never, you know, and it was just that growl or look on his face that was so many scared people, or maybe he scared his own wrestlers to wrestle harder. I don't know, but it's one of those where you just go, you don't understand the guy till you get to know him, and that's why there's misnomers sometimes with coaches out there in the state unless you get to know him. So if any coach doesn't know me or anything, come visit with me. You'll get to know me better too. Definitely. Well, I tell you what, you get to spend a lot of time. I know we're packing for Gillette and got things to do. I do appreciate you. And anything you do for the sport, if you ever need anything, you know, I'll help you out. I'm going to see you several years. I've got a 7th grader who's coming up, and it's coming up from the middle school after the season's done with. So
I'm excited.
We'll get some conversations. He's got a lot of growing to do. He's got 0 testosterone so far. So hopefully it's a little happen. Yeah, it'll happen.
It'll happen. But no, you know, like you said, my hat's off to both you and Rich. I mean, you think about it, for the state of North Dakota to have 2 guys that promote the sport the way that you guys do, and we're lucky because there's a lot of states they don't have a single person. So we're lucky to have 2, let alone 0. I mean, for us to have that, we're blessed to have guys like you to keep promoting the sport, because if we didn't, this sport's hard enough to get kids to come out. So when we can promote it as often as we can with you guys, I mean, we're lucky. So thank you for doing what you guys do.
He makes it back to the state, because honestly, we had some great conversations when we were coaching together in Mandan. So it's kind of funny because when he first started doing this, he actually called me and says, "Hey, thinking of doing this. Do you think there'll be a problem, or what do you want to do?" And I'm, "Oh, just go ahead. This is awesome." I think, you know, because honestly, when him getting out of coaching surprised me, but he's got a wife that's going to make millions. So he's brain surgeon or whatever. And so he's in Illinois. I'm hoping he makes it back to North Dakota more often. And we got to visit a little bit at the state wrestling tournament last year. So if you're out there getting rich, just keep promoting, do your best. If you ever need some more information, holler my way. Again, I'm going to make a thank you. I'm going to say good night to most people out there in wrestling land. And Dakota Grappler Coaches Live Show number 5 is pretty much in the books. I'm going to put a lot of information now. I got some of it just all written down here, just my basic outline of what I was doing. And I've got so many other things I've done over the years. And I said, guess what? It's time to get some more coaching stuff out there. So feel free, hop over to, actually what's interesting is I've got dakotagrappler.com website, and that's actually now run by NBC. They promote it, and they actually bought Track Wrestling and contacted me and wanted to move my website over there so that you can register and do other things, and it's going to have more and more abilities. You can see these videos on there. You'll be able to eventually, if you want to put team pages and do so many different things. And I still do all the capabilities that are possible on there. So other teams, you could promote their own. I could put the complete book and highlight everything, and you could do so much. So then my old message board that was on Dakota Grappler is now wrestlingmessageboards.com. And I had to move it there, but yet it's all connected still. You could go to Dakota Grappler, find message board link on top, and still get to the old message board. And in there is where I'm going to post all the information where coaches can follow this 12-day challenge of becoming basically a better coach. That's what it's all about. I want people to be complete and help kids. That's kind of my goal with this. So again, go on to dakotagrappler.com, click on the little link in the upper corner up there where it says message board. It's going to be on the North Dakota board. South Dakota's crazy. I tell you what, they're 10 times as many people hop over the South Dakota board. I'll probably post it in there too. You're going to see some worksheets if you want to become a better coach, or even parents if you want to take this, kind of get your philosophy. Because I have a lot of parents out there that really think they have a philosophy of how wrestling should be and promote their kids probably the wrong way. You know, when they come home and so forth, putting too much pressure and doing things. I might put some more advice for parents on there. I have written quite a few articles on that. But you can kind of follow what I want some coaches to do. And if coaches don't, that's fine. But I think that this could help some coaches down the road, and people look at this from years to come. Maybe they'll follow this 12-day challenge and figure out how to become a better coach. Okay, guys. John Gums, Dakota Grappler. We are going to go dead here in a second. So I appreciate you watching again tonight, watching in the future. Feel free to contact me. I'm wide open. Go over, click on, you can go to dakotagrappler@gmail.com or my name, john.gums@gmail.com. Contact me. If you have any questions, come to wrestling. Now, I can't be everywhere. I do have a boy that swims and I have another boy that wrestles, so I try to do my best for wrestling. But you ever need anything, contact me and I'll do my best for you.
Busy man.
Okay. You betcha. Take care, guys. Thanks again, Mr. Lemar. I don't know how he's best.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.